When we talk about the power of a woman, we are not speaking about strength measured by the body or noise made by words. We are speaking about the quiet force that moves mountains, the light that pierces darkness, the seed that holds within it the possibility of a forest. A woman's right to live fully, to be free, to express herself, is not a favor given by the world. It is the natural law of her being. Yet so often the world tries to tell her otherwise. So often, society places invisible walls around her spirit, asking her to shrink, asking her to be less. But a woman's heart does not ask permission. Her mind does not need approval. Her dreams do not bow to judgment. To empower a woman is not just to give her opportunities. It is to remind her that the opportunities were always inside her. The courage, the creativity, the wisdom, the patience, the fire, all of it was hers before anyone noticed. And when a woman claims her right to live fully, she does not take from others. She teaches everyone around her how to rise. She reminds us that freedom is not only a gift, but a responsibility. We cannot speak of empowerment without speaking of love. Not romantic love, but the love that honors another human being as equal. The love that sees potential rather than limitation. The love that nurtures rather than controls. When we create a world that respects women's rights, we create a world where compassion flows freely, where creativity is not stifled, where justice becomes natural and not rare. Every woman carries within her a light that is hers alone. It is a light that was never meant to be dimmed, a voice that was never meant to be silenced, a dream that was never meant to be denied. To speak of a woman's right to live freely is not merely to speak of law or policy, it is to speak of the very essence of her being. Each woman, from the moment she breathes her first breath, possesses an inner freedom that no one can rightfully take away. Yet the world has often tried. Societies have constructed invisible chains made of expectations, judgments, and outdated notions of what a woman should be, where she should be, and how she should behave. And too often, she is asked to shrink herself, to bend, to quiet her voice, to place her dreams in the shadows. But freedom is not a gift that can be granted. It is a truth that exists within her, waiting to be recognized, claimed, and lived. A woman's right to live freely is a declaration that her life belongs to her and no one else. It is the understanding that her choices, her movements, her thoughts, her passions are not possessions of the world to control or question. Every time a woman steps forward and speaks her truth, she challenges centuries of conditioning and breaks a cycle of silence. Every time she moves boldly in the direction of her dreams, she sets an example for others, showing that life is not meant to be small, constrained, or hidden. To live freely is not only to act without fear, it is to feel without apology. It is to embrace joy, sorrow, success, and failure as equal parts of one's journey. It is to recognize that her emotions, her intuition, her desires, and her ambitions are valid simply because they exist within her. There is a courage in this freedom, a courage that is quiet yet unstoppable. It is not always loud or confrontational. Sometimes it is found in the small, consistent acts of self-respect. The refusal to accept disrespect. The refusal to be limited by others' narrow visions. The refusal to silence the song of her own heart. Speaking boldly is not arrogance. And it is not rebellion without reason. It is a reclaiming of voice that has often been denied. It is the understanding that words carry power. And when a woman speaks, she shapes not only her own life, but the lives of those around her. Her voice is a force of influence that inspires courage, sparks change, and illuminates paths that were previously unseen. Silence can be comfortable for those who wish to keep things as they are, but speech, when rooted in truth and integrity, is transformative. Every word a woman speaks in honesty and clarity is a declaration of her right to exist fully, without fear, without apology, without compromise. To pursue her dreams without fear or restriction is to live in alignment with the deepest truth of who she is. Dreams are not fantasies to be discarded. They are expressions of her potential, the blueprints of what she can contribute to the world. Society may try to measure her against standards that were never meant for her, may attempt to steer her into paths that feel safe, conventional, or comfortable for others. But when she follows her own aspirations, she not only fulfills her own life, but also opens doors for countless others. Her courage becomes contagious, her determination becomes a guide, her success becomes proof that limitations exist only where we allow them to exist. Freedom, boldness, and pursuit of dreams are inseparable. One cannot truly speak boldly without living freely. One cannot pursue dreams without claiming the right to do so without fear. And in this claiming, the world begins to change. It shifts because it can no longer deny the presence, the voice, and the power of a woman who knows her worth. It bends toward justice, toward equality, toward recognition that every human being has a right to live fully. When a woman lives freely, she teaches others the value of freedom. When she speaks boldly, she reminds the world that silence is not the measure of strength. When she pursues her dreams without restriction, she shows that courage and conviction are stronger than doubt and oppression. Each step she takes is not only her own, but a movement for all who will come after her. And so, the journey of a woman claiming her right to live freely, speak boldly, and pursue her dreams is not only personal. It is universal. It is a story of awakening, a story of resilience, a story of power that cannot be confined. In honoring this right, in living this truth, she becomes a force of change that lifts humanity itself. Empowering a woman is not merely an act of kindness or a gesture of goodwill. It is a recognition of truth, a recognition that when a woman rises, the world rises with her. Communities flourish when women are given the space to lead, to create, to nurture, and to inspire. The strength of a family, the cohesion of a neighborhood, the vision of a city, and the future of a nation all carry the echoes of women who are allowed to step fully into their power. A woman's empowerment does not exist in isolation. It ripples outward, touching every life that comes near it, often in ways that are invisible at first, but undeniable over time. Consider the quiet influence a woman holds within her immediate surroundings. When she is confident in her abilities, she makes decisions not from fear, but from wisdom. She nurtures not from obligation, but from understanding. She teaches not from authority alone, but from example. Children who witness strong, empowered women learn courage and empathy. Families guided by women who are respected and valued find balance, understanding, and harmony. The lessons she imparts are not merely practical. They are moral, spiritual, and enduring. She teaches that life is not about dominance or control, but about contribution and collaboration. When a woman stands in her truth, her community is elevated, for the seeds she plants in her family and surroundings grow into values that last generations. On a larger scale, when nations empower their women, they awaken the potential of entire societies. A country that limits the voices and choices of half its population cannot thrive in its fullest sense. Economies are more robust when women participate fully in the workforce. Innovation flourishes when the perspectives, creativity, and talents of women are included in decision-making. Education, health, and governance improve when women are not sidelined, but celebrated as partners in building society. Every statistic of progress, from literacy rates to economic growth, from social stability to cultural richness, is influenced by the empowerment of women. It is not just about opportunity. It is about recognizing the full spectrum of human potential and refusing to waste even a fraction of it. Empowerment also reaches the soul of humanity itself. When women are empowered, the very notion of what it means to live fully, to dream without boundaries, to act without fear, becomes a shared vision. Human dignity is honored not selectively but universally. Inequality loses its foothold, oppression weakens, and empathy gains strength. Societies that embrace women's empowerment learn that justice is not a zero-sum game. One person's rise does not require another's fall. Instead, every step taken in freedom and confidence is a step taken toward collective strength, toward shared prosperity, toward a future where every human being can live fully and with purpose. It is important to understand that empowering women does not mean diminishing men or creating competition between genders. True empowerment uplifts everyone, for it restores balance, amplifies understanding, and opens channels of communication that have long been blocked by bias and tradition. When a woman's voice is heard, when her skills are valued, when her dreams are supported, men and women alike gain insight, inspiration, and strength. The progress of one becomes the progress of all. Communities become more resilient, nations become more just, and humanity becomes more compassionate. The ripple effect is subtle yet powerful. An empowered woman mentoring another, advocating for justice, or creating opportunities multiplies her impact exponentially. Each act of courage, each choice made with integrity, each barrier broken becomes part of a larger movement that reshapes societies. And the beauty of it is that empowerment does not require perfection. It requires recognition, encouragement, and the willingness to allow women to occupy the spaces they have always deserved. In essence, when we empower women, we are not doing a favor to individuals alone. We are investing in families that will flourish, in communities that will thrive, in nations that will progress, and in humanity that will awaken to its highest potential. It is a force that strengthens, not because it is loud or forceful, but because it is true, natural, and enduring. Empowerment is not about creating separate paths. It is about opening the world so that every human being may walk freely, with confidence, and with dignity. When we recognize and honor the power of women, when we allow them to lead, to speak, to create, and to inspire, we are not merely changing individual lives. We are shaping the very foundation of a better world, a world that is just more compassionate and more whole. Education is the quiet revolution that changes lives, the unseen force that transforms potential into reality, the light that illuminates paths previously hidden by darkness. When we speak of education for women, we are not merely talking about textbooks, classrooms, or examinations. We are speaking of freedom, the freedom to think clearly, to choose wisely, to create fearlessly, to live fully. Education is not a privilege that can be handed out at the discretion of society. It is a fundamental right, as natural as the air we breathe and as essential as the ability to dream. To deny a woman education is to deny her the possibility of realizing the fullness of who she is. And in doing so, we diminish not only her life, but the life of the community, the nation, and humanity itself. When a woman is educated, she carries knowledge like a seed. That seed grows within her, and in turn, she plants it in her surroundings. She nurtures the minds of her children. She strengthens her family, she contributes meaningfully to her workplace, and she uplifts her community. The ripple effect of education is immense and enduring. It is through education that a woman learns not only facts and skills, but the wisdom to navigate life with discernment. She learns that her voice matters, that her decisions have weight, that her dreams are worthy of pursuit. She becomes a lighthouse, guiding others with the clarity she has gained, and showing that knowledge is not meant to be hoarded, but shared. Education unlocks potential that often remains unseen in silence and ignorance. A woman who is literate, confident, and informed can transform the spaces around her. She can question traditions that limit growth, challenge systems that propagate inequality, and introduce ideas that inspire change. She becomes a thinker, a creator, a problem solver, and a leader. The power of her mind, once nurtured by learning, extends beyond herself to touch countless lives. An educated woman is a catalyst for progress, for she carries the tools of understanding, empathy, and innovation. Through her, communities gain perspective, nations gain resilience, and humanity gains hope. It is important to recognize that education is not merely about economic opportunity or career advancement. Though these are important outcomes, education is the awakening of consciousness. It is the recognition that every individual has a voice, a mind, and a purpose. When women are educated, they refuse to accept limitations imposed by fear, prejudice, or convention. They see the world not as a set of restrictions, but as a canvas of possibilities. They understand that learning is not finite. It is a lifelong journey that deepens awareness, sharpens judgment, and cultivates compassion. In this sense, education is both a sword and a shield. It protects against ignorance, empowers action, and shapes a life of integrity and courage. Consider the generations that follow. An educated mother raises children who value knowledge and respect equality. She teaches them by example that learning is sacred, that curiosity is natural, that every question is valid. The cycle of enlightenment grows with every child nurtured, every mind opened, every dream encouraged. Education becomes a legacy, passed down not only as information, but as inspiration. Communities that embrace women's education see lower rates of inequality, greater participation in social development, and a stronger foundation for future growth. The impact is profound and long-lasting, proving that investing in a woman's education is investing in the world itself. Education also strengthens resilience. Life often presents challenges, obstacles, and uncertainties. A woman equipped with knowledge, critical thinking, and self-awareness is better prepared to navigate difficulties. She understands her rights, she recognizes injustice, she identifies opportunity, and she makes informed choices. Empowered by learning, she does not cower before hardship, she faces it with clarity and determination. Education gives her the tools to rise, to rebuild, to innovate, and to inspire others to do the same. Ultimately, education is a doorway to freedom, empowerment, and dignity. It is the recognition that a woman's mind, her voice, her dreams, and her contributions are inherently valuable. To educate a woman is not simply to enhance her life, it is to strengthen her family, her community, her nation, and the fabric of humanity itself. When women are educated, the world transforms, one life at a time, one mind at a time, one heart at a time. And so, the journey of education is not just about learning facts or acquiring skills. It is about awakening the limitless potential that lies within every woman and trusting that when she is empowered through knowledge, she will rise, she will shine, and she will lift the world with her. True equality is not given. It is realized when society awakens to a deeper truth, that every woman is unique, capable, and deserving of respect not because she fits a mold, but because she simply exists. For too long, women have been confined by labels, measured by outdated standards, and judged against expectations that were never theirs to fulfill. Society tells her how she should dress, how she should speak, what ambitions she should hold, what roles she should play, as if her value were determined by conformity rather than authenticity. But equality does not lie in conformity, it lies in recognition. It lies in seeing the richness of her individuality and honoring her freedom to be herself fully and unapologetically. When we begin to see women as whole human beings rather than categories or stereotypes, we open the door to a profound transformation. Stereotypes are not harmless. They limit potential, restrict growth, and silence voices. They whisper that ambition is unfeminine, that strength is threatening, that intellect is unnecessary. They create invisible walls around creativity and leadership, around choice and expression. Breaking these walls is not a matter of rebellion, it is a matter of justice. It is a matter of truth. Every woman carries a power that is hers by nature, a power that cannot be defined by expectation or diminished by prejudice. Recognizing that power is the first step toward real equality. Equality begins with the mind. It begins when families, communities, and institutions stop thinking of women in terms of what they should be and start seeing them for who they are. It begins when we stop asking, "Is this suitable for a woman?" and start asking, "Does this serve the human spirit?" When society shifts its gaze from limitation to possibility, the world changes. Women begin to feel the courage to explore, to experiment, to lead, to create, and to innovate. The energy that has long been suppressed bursts forth in creativity, productivity, and wisdom. Each woman who steps into her authentic self becomes a living example of the power that was always hers, and every life she touches begins to expand alongside her. Recognizing women's unique power is not about creating superiority or competition. It is about honoring difference without hierarchy. It is about understanding that diversity is strength and that true progress cannot happen when half the population is constrained by narrow definitions. When society values women for their ideas, their actions, and their contributions rather than their adherence to expectation, innovation flourishes, compassion deepens, and justice spreads. Women begin to occupy spaces they were told were off limits. They mentor, lead, and inspire, showing the world that equality is not a threat but an enrichment. Every boundary that falls away allows more light to enter, illuminating paths that were once hidden. This recognition also nurtures empathy. When women are seen for their authentic selves, men and society at large learn the value of listening, of understanding, and of respecting individuality. They learn that the measure of equality is not merely numerical or procedural, but deeply human. True equality cannot exist in laws alone. It lives in hearts, in interactions, in the subtle ways people value and honor each other. When women are freed from stereotypes, when their uniqueness is celebrated rather than suppressed, society experiences a ripple effect of growth, harmony, and innovation. The bonds of collaboration strengthen, communities become more resilient, and the potential of humanity is realized more fully. Equality is also about opportunity. The opportunity to explore talents without judgment, to pursue dreams without fear, and to speak without apology. Every woman has abilities and insights that are singular, shaped by her experiences, her vision, and her passions. When these gifts are recognized and valued, they elevate not only her life, but also the lives of those around her. Schools, workplaces, governments, and families all become richer because they embrace the full spectrum of human potential. Limitation is replaced by possibility, suppression by encouragement, doubt by trust, and fear by confidence. When society stops defining women by stereotypes and begins to honor their unique power, the change is not incremental. It is transformative. The act of recognition itself is revolutionary. It is the acknowledgement that humanity cannot progress while half of it remains constrained by invisible chains. It is the awakening to a truth as old as life itself, that every woman is a force of creativity, intelligence, compassion, and courage, and that her freedom to be herself benefits not only her, but everyone around her. In this recognition, equality is no longer a distant ideal. It becomes a living reality. It becomes the natural order of respect, understanding, and empowerment. And when this shift occurs, the world begins to rise together, no longer divided by expectation, but united by recognition of each person's unique, irreplaceable value. Respecting a woman's choices is not an act of kindness to be praised or a favor to be acknowledged. It is a matter of justice, an acknowledgement of her humanity, and a recognition of the dignity that belongs to her by birth. For too long, women have been pressured to follow paths chosen by others, told what is suitable, acceptable, or desirable, as if their own thoughts, desires, and instincts were secondary. Respecting a woman's choices is a simple acknowledgement of truth. She belongs to herself. Her life is her own. Her voice is her own, and her path is hers to decide. To interfere, to dictate, or to dismiss her choices is not concern. It is oppression, even when it is disguised as care. True respect begins when we recognize that every woman is capable of knowing what is right for her life, even when her choices differ from expectations. When we honor a woman's decisions, we are upholding the principle that life is not meant to be controlled, constrained, or judged by others. Every woman has the right to choose her career, her relationships, her education, her way of expressing herself, and her vision of happiness. These choices are extensions of her identity. To respect them is to honor her presence in the world, the inner wisdom that guides her, and the experiences that shape her perspective. It is through respect that she can flourish with confidence, moving forward with integrity rather than fear, understanding rather than doubt, and freedom rather than obligation. Respecting women's choices is not only about individual freedom, it is about the foundation of society itself. Communities that honor the autonomy of women grow stronger, healthier, and more resilient. When women are given the space to make their own decisions, they contribute more fully to every aspect of life: education, work, family, and leadership. Their creativity is unleashed. Their problem-solving skills are harnessed, and their empathy is magnified. Families thrive when the voices of women are heard and valued. Workplaces prosper when women's perspectives are included in decision-making. Nations progress when the contributions of women are celebrated rather than constrained. Respecting choices is not a passive act. It is an investment in the strength, wisdom, and harmony of society as a whole. Justice is inseparable from respect. To deny women the right to make choices is to deny them equality, to strip them of dignity, and to diminish the moral foundation of any society. Justice is not fulfilled by laws alone. It is realized when women are allowed to navigate life freely, when their voices are considered, when their autonomy is protected. The act of honoring a woman's choice is an acknowledgement that she is equal, capable, and deserving of trust. It is a recognition that power does not reside in control over her, but in allowing her to exercise her own agency. True justice does not ask permission to exist. It simply recognizes what has always been true. This respect also nurtures mutual understanding. When women are trusted to make their own choices, they develop confidence and responsibility. They learn to act with integrity and thoughtfulness. Those around them learn to listen, to observe, and to value insight over assumption. Respect transforms relationships, not through dominance or hierarchy, but through recognition of equality and shared humanity. It teaches that support is not control, and guidance is not imposition. The result is harmony, not conformity; collaboration, not coercion; and progress, not stagnation. To honor a woman's choices is to acknowledge that her life is hers to lead. It is to recognize that every decision she makes, whether small or significant, reflects her journey, her priorities, and her vision. Whether she chooses to pursue education, travel, marriage, career, creativity, or solitude, her choices are valid because they belong to her. Respect does not judge the direction. It celebrates the freedom to choose the path. Every time a woman is trusted to follow her instincts, society takes a step closer to fairness, understanding, and equality. Respecting women's choices is also a reflection of human dignity. Every person has the right to define their own existence, to act in alignment with their values, and to pursue fulfillment without fear of suppression or ridicule. Denying this right is a denial of what it means to be fully human. Recognizing and honoring choices affirms that dignity is not conditional on conformity, appearance, or performance. It affirms that life is enriched when each individual is empowered to act authentically. Ultimately, respecting a woman's choices is not optional. It is justice made visible, integrity made tangible, and humanity made real. When we honor the decisions of women, we create a society rooted in fairness, guided by empathy, and strengthened by diversity. When we give space for their freedom to choose, we elevate everyone around them, cultivating a world where respect is not rare but natural, where equality is not aspirational but lived, and where dignity is recognized as the birthright of every human being. And so, respecting a woman's choices is not merely an act, It is the foundation for a just and thriving world. A woman's voice is not merely sound. It is the expression of experience, the echo of wisdom, the rhythm of courage, and the language of truth. For centuries, women have been asked to be quiet, to hold their thoughts, to bend their expressions to fit expectation, as if their words were not worthy of attention. But every voice carries weight. Every story carries meaning. Every woman who speaks does more than communicate. She awakens awareness. She inspires reflection, and she ignites change. When a woman rises to speak, she does not only claim her right, she transforms the space around her, altering the very fabric of society in ways that are subtle yet enduring. The importance of a woman's voice cannot be overstated. It is in her speech that perspective unfolds, ideas are shared, and solutions are discovered. She brings a vision shaped by experience, empathy, and insight that is unique, irreplaceable, and invaluable. When her voice is heard, communities become more inclusive, decisions become more thoughtful, and progress becomes more authentic. Every time a woman speaks, she challenges assumptions, reshapes narratives, and opens minds to truths that were previously overlooked. Silence may seem peaceful, but it is in speaking that transformation begins. Her voice is the bridge between the unseen and the known, between potential and action, between injustice and fairness. Listening to women is not only a moral obligation, it is a necessity for growth. The world cannot reach its fullest potential while half its population is muted or dismissed. Societies that value women's voices gain insight, creativity, and resilience. They learn not from the loudest or most powerful alone, but from the wisdom embedded in lived experience. Every woman who shares her knowledge, her perspective, her vision, contributes to a collective understanding that is richer, more nuanced, and more capable of addressing the challenges of life. Transformation begins not only with policy or laws, but with the acknowledgement that women's voices carry authority, knowledge, and inspiration. When women are encouraged to speak and are listened to with respect, the ripple effect is profound. Their words inspire others to rise, to question, and to act. Communities awaken to possibilities that were once unimagined. Nations shift toward fairness and equity. The world begins to embrace a broader perspective, recognizing that leadership, innovation, compassion, and insight are not bound by gender. Every woman's story, whether told in a boardroom, a classroom, a community gathering, or a quiet conversation, carries the power to influence decisions, ignite change, and shape the future. Empowerment and voice are inseparable. A woman who understands her worth finds the courage to speak, and her speaking reinforces her sense of self and her capacity to act. Each time she is heard, she grows stronger, more confident, and more resolute. She learns that her opinions matter, that her insights are valued, and that her expression is not just valid but vital. Her voice becomes a beacon for others who may still be afraid to speak, a reminder that courage is contagious, and that change begins when truth is shared. To truly honor women's voices is to recognize that speaking is not always about confrontation or proclamation. Sometimes it is quiet, reflective, and profound. It is in the subtle sharing of wisdom, the gentle insistence on respect, the calm assertion of boundaries, and the patient persistence of ideas that transformation occurs. The world listens when women rise, not only because of volume, but because their words carry authenticity, clarity, and integrity. Listening requires humility, attention, and a willingness to learn. It is in this attentive space that society shifts, prejudice dissolves, and growth emerges. History shows the impact of women who have dared to speak. From movements that redefined human rights to communities transformed by leadership rooted in compassion, women's voices have always been catalysts for progress. Every story, every testimony, every expression of vision contributes to a greater understanding of humanity's potential. When women are silenced, that potential is lost. When they rise, it is multiplied, lifting not only themselves but everyone they touch. Ultimately, a woman's voice is a force of transformation because it carries truth, experience, and possibility. When she speaks, she teaches the world to listen, to reflect, and to act. She shows that equality is not just a principle, but a living practice. She demonstrates that justice is amplified when every voice is honored. And she reminds us that progress is most meaningful when it includes every perspective, every story, every voice that has long been unheard. When women rise and speak, the world listens, learns, and transforms in ways that are lasting, profound, and beautiful. Empowerment is often misunderstood as a battle, a competition, or a contest. Too many believe that for a woman to rise, someone else must fall, that claiming her place in the world means taking it from another. But true empowerment is not about competition with men, nor is it about asserting dominance or proving superiority. It is about recognition of her intrinsic worth, her unique abilities, and the freedom that has always belonged to her. Empowerment is a reclamation of what is natural, a return to the understanding that a woman has the right to live fully, to act boldly, to speak clearly, and to embrace her potential without apology. It is not granted by society, nor is it measured by comparison. It is realized when a woman steps into her truth and honors herself in every moment. To be empowered is to understand one's own value. A woman who knows her worth does not seek validation from others. She is not diminished by the achievements of men, nor does she seek to overshadow them. Instead, she embraces her own vision, cultivates her own strengths, and moves through life guided by integrity and self-respect. This confidence is quiet yet powerful, unshakable yet gentle, transformative yet unassuming. It is a force that cannot be contained because it comes not from external approval, but from inner understanding. Empowerment begins within, rooted in the knowledge that every human being, regardless of gender, deserves to be treated with dignity, to have choices, and to pursue dreams without obstruction. Freedom is at the heart of empowerment. It is the freedom to make decisions, to follow intuition, to explore curiosity, to express creativity, and to act in alignment with values. When a woman reclaims this freedom, she not only transforms her own life, but also influences the lives of everyone around her. Families, communities, and workplaces benefit from her presence, her insight, and her initiative. Empowerment allows a woman to participate fully in society, to contribute authentically, and to make decisions that reflect her vision rather than imposed expectations. It is in this freedom that she discovers the depth of her potential, the breadth of her courage, and the clarity of her purpose. Confidence is the companion of empowerment. It is not arrogance, nor is it insistence on being heard above others. It is a quiet certainty that she has the right to exist fully, to express her voice, and to follow her path without fear of judgment. Confidence allows a woman to embrace challenges, to navigate uncertainty, and to take risks that align with her values. It is the inner strength that sustains action even when the world questions, the calm in decision making even when doubt surrounds her, and the clarity of purpose even when distractions pull at her attention. Confidence transforms hesitation into initiative, fear into courage, and potential into achievement. Reclaiming value is equally essential. Society has often defined a woman's value by appearance, obedience, or utility rather than by her character, intelligence, creativity, and contribution. Empowerment is the act of reclaiming that intrinsic value, asserting that she is complete and worthy simply because she exists. It is an acknowledgement that no external validation is required to confirm her worth, and that her talents, insights, and passions deserve recognition. When a woman recognizes her value, she navigates life with integrity, sets boundaries that honor her needs, and inspires others to honor theirs. This reclamation is not ego, it is truth. It is the understanding that equality and respect are not favors to be granted, but rights to be exercised. Empowerment also transforms perspective. When a woman moves through life with freedom, confidence, and self-recognized value, she reframes her interactions, her decisions, and her relationships. She does not measure success by comparison but by authenticity. She does not define strength by dominance but by integrity. She does not seek to compete for attention but to contribute meaningfully. This mindset elevates communities, strengthens collaborations, and fosters environments where everyone, men and women alike, can thrive. Empowerment in this sense is a force that enriches rather than divides, uplifts rather than diminishes, and inspires rather than intimidates. Ultimately, empowerment is the natural alignment of self-awareness, freedom, and dignity. It is a woman claiming her right to live fully, act boldly, and honor herself without apology. It is not a challenge to others but a restoration of balance, a recognition of equality, and a celebration of human potential. When women embrace empowerment in this way, the world transforms. Not because someone has been overtaken, but because truth has been recognized and freedom has been exercised. Empowerment is not about competing with men. It is about reclaiming the freedom, confidence, and value every woman deserves, and in doing so, she lifts the world with her presence. As we reflect on the journey of women's rights and empowerment, we see that it is not merely a call for equality or opportunity. It is a call to honor humanity itself. Every woman's freedom, every voice raised, every choice respected, and every dream pursued strengthens not only her life, but the world around her. Empowerment is not measured by competition or comparison, but by the courage to stand in truth, the confidence to embrace potential, and the wisdom to recognize value within oneself. When women rise, families flourish, communities grow stronger, nations progress, and humanity awakens to its fullest possibility. Let us remember that every step toward empowerment is a step toward a better, more just, and compassionate world. Let us honor the voices, choices, and dreams of women not as acts of favor, but as recognition of what has always been right and natural. And let us carry this awareness forward in our lives, in our actions, and in our hearts, knowing that each effort to support, respect, and uplift a woman reverberates far beyond what we can see. So rise with courage, speak with clarity, act with integrity, and live with purpose. Embrace the freedom that belongs to you and honor the freedom of others. Empowerment is not a gift. It is a truth to be lived, a journey to be embraced, and a light to be shared. Good luck to each one of you as you continue this journey, and thank you for listening, for caring, and for being part of a world that chooses to honor, respect, and empower women. Together we rise.